to be sitting here with Baba and all of you. Thank you to all the wonderful trustees of the temple who made it possible to have the evening. My special thanks to Mama who has come all the way to be present here. It becomes all the more special just because he is here. Nothing else is needed after that. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Anantaramanji, who is sitting over there. The person who has translated the Satcharita into Kannada. He is very much for all the devices. I welcome you all. And thank you to all my healers and my team who are always with me wherever I go and smiling at me sitting here. Thank you all for being here. I don't know how many of you know about me, but it's very brief. Like Mama said, there is a book that Baba has written through me and the instrument called Sai Baba Is Still Alive. The book has my name on the cover page, but actually the book is written completely by Baba. Every word in the book belongs to him. And those who have read the book will totally agree that only Baba could have written the book. I could not have written even a single word of it. So talking of miracles, the book is the biggest miracle in my life and in the lives of all the people that whom it has reached and who have loved reading it. Every word has been Baba's. I get lots of messages from people saying that we cry every time we read your book. We have to sit with a box of tissue, tissue paper wiping our tears. We have to keep stopping because there is so much of, the book just makes you cry. You overwhelm it all the time. And then I laugh and tell them that the strange part is that every time I read my own book also, I cry as much. I also have to sit with handkerchiefs and tissues and I cry through the book because it is really not written by me. If I had written, I would not be crying reading my book. It is written by Baba himself, totally by him. We have time today, so I would like to share with you a few miracles of Baba which I have shared in my book. And few teachings of Baba which he has shared with me during my journey with him. I'll start by sharing with you how the book happened. Baba wanted me to share this today because I think I'm meeting lots of new people today. So I must share how this book happened in my life. When I met Baba, you've heard of love at first sight. Yes? So for me it was completely love at first sight. I saw him and I fell in love and I've been in love ever since. Everything in the world changed for me. When we are in love, everything looks beautiful, the world looks beautiful. You just want to be happy, you just want to smile. Even the dull clouds look beautiful, the rain feels special. Everything just becomes magical. So for me, falling in love was even more beautiful because people fall in love, the experience stays for some time, then they outgrow the experience. For me, it is only increasing every day. I fell in love, the world looked beautiful, it gets more and more beautiful with every passing moment, with every passing day. I feel I'm more in love with him. Then I think, Baba, I can't love you more than this. But then again the next day I feel, oh my God, I'm again more in love with him. He's so beautiful that you can just keep on falling in love with him and go on and on. So I used to always be with Baba when I met him, think about him, talk about him, meditate on him, chant his name. That's all I did. But I still felt very full. I just could not, that feeling of fullness of Baba inside me, it was just getting to me. I just needed an outlet. So I would just keep talking about him, talking about him. There was nothing else I did those days. Till the fullness state, I felt I needed an outlet. So after doing everything possible, one day I just picked up my diary and I started writing about Baba. The moment I started writing, it felt as if I was easing out, I was calming down. Every word in the book made me feel better. It gave an outlet to those feelings that had been consuming for so long. So I started writing and I kept writing. I wrote my experiences with Baba. I wrote experiences of people around me that I was seeing. And with Baba, there are miracles every day. Every morning is a miracle. Every day is a miracle. I think for me, every moment is a miracle in His presence. Something or the other beautiful is happening in our life. Sometimes we don't see that it is happening, but it is happening for sure. So I kept writing about Baba. He taught me in my sleep, He taught me in my dreams, He taught me in my meditation. There were so many things I learned from Baba. I would just keep writing them on pages and papers and books and diaries. filling them up. Like this, about 8-9 years went. Later, I thought I must collect everything together. Something was in a notebook, something in a diary, something on paper. I didn't want to lose it. So I requested somebody to help me type it out and print it. So when I actually printed it, I realized, my God, I have so much that I have written in the last 10 years about Baba. It was a huge collection. I was also very amazed that, my God, I didn't realize when I wrote so much on Baba. At that time, my family, especially my younger sister Neha, they started pushing me that when you've written about Baba, why don't you share it with people? Let's make it into a book and give it to the world. And I said, my God, how can I share this with people? This is just between Baba and me. Like love letters, you don't share with people, right? How could I share what I had written for him with everybody? I thought, at any ways, I think I'm very mad about Baba. Not little mad, very, very mad about him. So when I write about him, talk about him, there is a lot of madness to it. I thought people will make fun of me. They will think, oh, here comes one mad girl talking about Baba. So I really didn't have the courage to put that book and give it to people. So then my sister kept pushing me, insisting. The family was after me. Then I said, okay, let's go to Shirdi. We were anyway planning a trip. Let's go to Shirdi. And in Shirdi, if Baba really wants this to be a book, he's always giving us indications in life. So let him give me a clear indication, make this into a book, and I will make this into a book. So we went to Shirdi, we went to the Samadhi Mandir, we prayed there, took Baba's blessing, there was no indication. So I told my sister, are you happy now? No indication, now this stays with me. So she says, Didi, we are still in Shirdi, it has just started, have patience, Sabuni. I said, okay. Then we went to the Dwarka Mai. In the Dwarka Mai, when we go up the stairs, there is that place where Baba's picture is kept. That is where Baba used to sit when he was alive with his left hand on the railing. So I again said, Baba, indication. The moment I went there, I actually saw Baba sitting there. It was a visual. I could see him sitting there, absolutely nice, alive, breathing, with his hand on the railing, smiling back at me. For a moment I just shook, I opened my eyes and I looked, there was the picture. Baba was not there then. And I said, Baba, that was beautiful. But that is not indication for a book. Thank you for the visual. Thank you for making me see you. I want a stronger indication. I was very scared to give the book to people. So saying that, I put my basket of offerings in Baba's feet, the coconut, the flowers. I just announced to Baba. That was when me and my sister were there. They had gone to the Dwarka. My parents were resting. Came out, started walking back. And just as we walked back, I said, Neha, there is something which is hurting my hand. I think the basket has broken. Just 1 second, it's clicking. So I quickly picked up the basket, took it in my left hand, and in my right hand there was a very old, ancient looking pen, a golden pen, with word Baba inscribed on it. It had a very faint Baba written, and I was surprised, how can a pen have come in my hand? I looked around. There was no possibility. In the Dwarka Mai, how can a pen come in my hand? And then my sister said, Didi, you cannot get a stronger indication. Now keep quiet and make it into a book. So that is how this book happened. It was totally not by my wish, it was totally by his wish. And that pen that I still possess and is my dearest possession. Then the book happened. Times of India was very happy to take it. Everything just fell in place. And before I knew, in 2 months of the book being launched, it became an international bestseller. Honestly, I did not even know what bestsellers are. I was not an author. So when people wrote to me saying, congratulations, top 50 international Amazon list and all, I had to go and search and find out what it meant. I didn't even know the meaning. But then I was not surprised, because if our Baba writes a book, it has to be a bestseller. So I really had no doubts about it. It touched lives, it helped people. A lot of people started doing Parayan of the book. A lot of people say they got healed of their problems and diseases with the book. It just became magical. Doctors used to write to me and say, we keep the book in the operation theatre when doing surgeries. We see the patient is getting blessed. One teacher wrote to me saying, I take it to the examination hall, the children get blessed. People have strange faith in the book. I was also on a journey with the book trying to understand what was happening. And then as we moved on, I think the journey moved on, so much more happened. Like Mama said, Baba is always around. He's always there. Sometimes he will be visible in pictures. When people take pictures, Baba appears on my hair, sometimes on my clothes, sometimes on the wall behind me. He's always there. But the point is, we restrict ourselves to thinking that he's in the hair, he's in the glass. He's everywhere. He's just everywhere. We just need the eyes to see him. When I showed Mama Baba in the Dwarkamai this morning, I was telling him, Mama, I have a problem. When I look at the towel, you know a towel hanging in the house, I see some 20-30 Baba faces in my towel. When I look at my wall, I see him on the wall. When I look at the tiles, I see him on the tiles. When I'm sitting and looking at the bed sheet, it gets crinkled, it takes Baba's face. I look at my quilt, it gets crinkled, it takes Baba's face. You will laugh, even my puri and roti take Baba's face. Anything I do, you give me halwa, it will make Baba's face there. So I keep telling him, I'm eating, you drinking, you looking at you. Wherever I go, he's there. You just take the eyes. I just realized that it's not me. Baba is everywhere. It is just that we need to have the eyes to be able to see him. We just need to be able to see him through our hearts actually, more than the eyes. If you're in love with him, the whole world becomes him. It's just him everywhere. Now I've come to my next experience in the book which really changed my life, and now it's changing the lives of many more people. How many of you have read my book? Oh, so then I can share. A lot of people have not read the book. This is the story of a young boy called Rishank. Rishi. Yes, Rishi's story. I know everywhere I go, people want to hear it from me. I think I've narrated it so many times now. Today Baba told me that I should be narrating it, so I'm back to narrating Rishi's story again. Rishi, young boy, 12th standard. He topped in his board exam. Very bright student. And I did not know him. My family did not know him. He went down to park the car because his parents told him in the night, the day of the celebration, the day of the results, go down and park the car and come. He just bolted the door from outside, went down to park the car, and thanks to mobile phones nowadays, his friends called up. And they said, Rishi, we're just around the corner celebrating, why don't you just drive here? Little children, no? 18, 19 years, they're always excited. Without telling anyone, he went there. Sometime later, some 15, 20 minutes, half an hour later, his mother received a call. Rishi was calling. She said, hello Rishi, why haven't you come up? So somebody else spoke on the other side and said, Madam, there is a boy here on the road who has met with an accident. This flashes us home in his phone, so we are calling to tell you. So Auntie said, oh, looks like a cross connection. No, Rishi is downstairs. Our son is at home, sorry. And she disconnected the phone. The phone again rang. Again somebody said to her, Madam, please don't disconnect the phone. We are standing next to car number so and so. This is the color of the car. This is the color of this person's clothes who has met with the accident. Auntie was shocked. She realized that they were talking about Rishi. She told her husband, run down and see, is Rishi there? When they opened the door was bolted. Then she said, what has happened? Tell me. They said, there is a boy lying on the road in a pool of blood completely. And if we leave him here, we're not sure he will even survive. He looks that bad. We're rushing him to the nearest hospital. This is the name. Please reach there. This is Baba's children, some 3 men who were there. God knows where they came from. But I'm sure they were totally Baba sent. They took Rishi to the hospital. The family called neighbors, got the door open, went to the hospital. In the hospital, Rishi was just lying in, like Auntie tells me all the time, that it was a pool of blood. There was just blood that was there. He was bleeding through his eyes, his ears, his nose, his mouth, everything was bleeding. He was taken inside. After quite a few hours, the night went through, doctors came back and said, sorry, we don't have the facility here to be able to save this child. You will have to take him away. And you can try shifting him to another hospital, but we are not sure he will survive that journey in the ambulance. He's very critical. But if you want, you can try taking him. Every parent will want to try. They were broken, shattered, just yesterday celebrating his results, and now they're saying that he may not survive. They rushed him to another big hospital in Delhi. He went through the journey. He survived in the hospital. In the hospital, he was critical again. Now, while all this was happening, my mother went to her doctor for her regular medicine, general checkup. That doctor happened to be the neighbor who had opened the vault for those people at night. He told my mother about the whole episode. Generally talking, such a sad thing happened in the neighborhood. Young boy, she was a tragedy and all that. So mommy is a very emotional person. She came back very, very emotional, feeling very bad for Rishi, and she told Papa, is there anything we can do for him? Something that we can do. And Papa said, the most we have is Baba's vibhuti. Have you got the address? She said, yes, I'm carrying the address with me. So they wrote a letter saying that we do not know you, but we are believers of Sai Baba of Shirdi. What we possess is Baba's vibhuti, which is magical. Please apply it to the boy's forehead and he will be, if Baba wishes, all will be well. Please do it with faith. So we are sending it to you. After writing the note, then again they thought that he was critical. What if the note reaches and the boy is no more? Should we actually send it? What if the family does not believe and they disrespect Baba's duty? So there was this dilemma in their minds. While they were still thinking, the phone rang, the landline. Baba picked up the phone. On the other side, Baba's aarti was going on in the mandir. Papa was shocked. How is the aarti going on? Now what happened is, I had gone for some work. I was driving. I saw Baba's mandir on the way. I just parked and thought I'll run in and do my pranams and come out. When I ran in, instantly the aarti started. I didn't realize the time. So we never leave mandir in between the aarti. So I stood. Mama, Papa loved hearing the aarti. I also thought they'll be worried, because I had to go back home. So I dialed the residence number and put the aarti on for them to hear and know that I'm fine, I'm in the mandir. I would do that often, so they understood it's me calling. So right on time, Papa first sent me to the mandir. Then the aarti got connected to them. And the moment they heard the aarti, Papa said to Mama, let us send the vibhuti. This is an indication we must send. Please send the vibhuti. After that, we had no idea what happened because we didn't know the family. We had no idea about who these people were, what was happening. Some 4-5 days later, the doorbell rang in our house. I must tell you, in the meantime, in those few days, every day we used to sit as a family, my friends, neighbors, all of us used to sit and chant for Rishi. Loudly we used to just sit and keep chanting Baba's name. We didn't know him, but we felt very bad about the tragedy. So praying is always nice. When you pray, only good can happen. So we were praying for him. So 4-5 days later, when the bell rang, we opened the door, there was a lady standing there. And she said, good evening, I'm Dishant's mother. And we were shocked, How come she's come to our house? We don't even know her. So we called her inside. She was very quiet, very pale. She just came and sat down. And we were scared to ask what happened. Nobody had the courage to say, how is your son? Anyway, she sat down, gave him water, and then he said, how come you are here? So she said, actually, we received this packet of vibhuti from you. And Mama, Papa nodded. And then she said, at that time, Rishi was in Apollo Hospital and he was having convulsions. Convulsions, his body was jumping up 4 to 5 feet from the bed and falling back. It would just rise up, fall back. There was no oxygen in the body. He was going into something like a seizure. You have these convulsions. Doctors gave injections, doctors gave medication, whatever they could do, they had given him. But he was just going up on the bed, falling back, up on the bed, falling back. Critical. So Auntie says, at that time I remembered that somebody had sent me this package which was in my purse. I quickly opened it and as per what you had written, we are not believers of Baba, she said. Her father used to believe in Baba. So they were not direct Baba believers. She did not know about the vibhuti. But she took it and quickly applied it to Rishi's forehead, touched some to his lips. And she says, the moment she does that, instantly the convulsion stopped. She said, we were shocked. Doctors were shocked, what has happened? How come he's calmed down? What did you do? So the vibhuti calmed him down, the convulsion stopped and he was in bed after that. So I think that built some faith in the parents, that there is some force which is helping our child. Anyways, that calmed down, but Rishi was critical. So after that, That night, uncle stayed back when she was in the ICU. His mama went back with the sister and the daughter, they went home. That night, midnight, doctors came to the father and they said to him that we are very sorry to inform you, we could not save Rishi. He's brain dead completely. Because the brain got completely opened up in the accident. I told you he was bleeding from everywhere. It was not just internal injury, it was so much blood that the bleeding was coming out all of the outside. So they said he's brain dead, he's still bleeding, but just a matter of a few hours, he will not survive through this. So all we need to tell you is please do the paperwork in the meanwhile so that you can take Rishi's body. Uncle was shocked, he did not expect this to happen. He had a friend who was a doctor at the same hospital. He called him up. And he said, can you please reach here? We need to do formalities and take the body. I don't have the courage. Just come. So the doctors rushed, the friend rushed at the doctor's friend. He came and he spoke to the doctor and he said, Rishi is breathing. Why don't you operate upon him? The doctor said, what should I operate on? Everything is damaged. There is nothing in the head I can do. The child is brain dead already. We can't revive him. Friend said, why don't you take a chance? They were doctors, talking to each other. He said, you want to pay an extra 5-10 lakhs of bill? I can operate upon him. I'm saving you money. There is no point. 30 years of my career, I have seen cases, I have not seen such a case. There is no hope of survival. This uncle's friend still insisted. He said, we don't mind paying that 5 lakh rupees. At least we will not live with the regret that we didn't try. So please try, take him in. The doctor said, okay, if you wish so, we will, but I already know the answer. I'm still taking him inside. Rishi was taken for the operation. At the same time, his mother was at home. She had a dream. She was obviously sleeping and had no idea what was happening in the hospital. She had a dream, and in the dream, she saw Baba. She was not a devotee, but of course we recognized Baba. Her father was believing in Baba. Sitting in snow white clothes under a tree, Baba was sitting there. And Rishi was lying in Baba's lap. His head was in Baba's lap, and his mama was sitting next to Baba and weeping loudly. Baba, save my child, save my child. She was crying. Baba was very patiently picking up pieces. His head had scattered everywhere. He would pick up a piece, fix it back, pick up another piece, fix it back. He kept fixing the head. Auntie kept crying. Finally, Baba put the whole head together, closed it, and he said to her, Mom, why do you cry? It will take some time. Rishi will be fine. So at this, Auntie woke up and she was shocked, She was weeping more. What happened? Why did I see Rishi dying? What is this Baba's dream? Totally confused. So her sister came there, tried to pacify her. So she said, no, I have to call the hospital. Something is not okay. She called the hospital and the phone was ringing, exactly how she narrated to us. The phone was ringing and nobody was picking up the phone on the other side. And you know why nobody was picking up the phone? Because at the same time, the doctor stepped out of the operation theatre and said, I cannot believe this. In 30 years of my career, I have not seen this. The boy has survived. It will take some time, but he will be fine. The words were also the same. It will take some time, but he will be fine. And she survived. Just unbelievable. After being declared brain dead, after saying take the body away, the boy survived through it. Rishi came home and Auntie met us and told us that after some 15 days, 20 days, maybe a month, I don't remember very well, it was a long stay in the hospital, he was sent home. So when she met us, we said we'd like to come and see him. She said, yes, you're welcome to come home when he shifts. So we went to meet Rishi and I was all excited, I was very young at that time and I thought, oh wow, I'm going to meet this miracle child of Baba. Very happily I walked into his room and I was horrified. There was a hospital bed and there was just bones on the bed. I could not even see a face. Just a pack of bones, his head falling on one side, drooling or saliva coming out. He could not move his head, he could not move his body, he was totally paralyzed. I felt so bad. I thought, my God, I thought I was going to see a survivor. He has survived, but what is this? It felt very bad. We continued to pray for Rishi. At that time, when we were praying for Rishi, we used to organize bhajans. I had some friends who used to sing. I told her, can you please come to Rishi's house and just do a bhajan. There will be lots of positive energy created in the house. He will feel good, the family will feel happy. So we did a bhajan in the house. So when we would do a bhajan, they would set up this whole darbar of Baba's pictures. So many pictures, the whole wall would be full. So many diyas would be lit up. It was an ethereal feeling totally. So I was sitting there, the bhajans were going on, and I was looking at Baba. And I actually saw, just like Shirdi, I saw him smile. The picture smiled at me, and he said, go and heal Rishi. And I said, Baba, what? Go and heal Rishi. Now let me tell you, before that I used to get these messages. Baba would always tell me, go heal people. Put your hands, people will get better. And I used to say, Baba, you tell me all ulta things. I am not going. People will laugh at me. What, put your hands? I don't even know what to do. And he kept saying, go put your hands, people will get better. So one day I tried it on my mother's back when she had a very severe backache, and she actually got better. Then my sister had a cough and cold, she got better. So slowly I realized I would just close my eyes and pray, people started getting better. So I used to feel this is really amazing, just to close eyes and pray and get people to be better. At that time Baba said to me, go heal Rishi. And I said, Baba, cough, cold is okay, headache is okay, backache is okay, what will I heal in that child? He's totally, I cannot do this. Baba smiled back. You don't have to do this. I will do this. You trust me? Sir, I trust you. He's very smart. He looks at those dazzling, mesmerizing eyes and says, you trust me? And then you have to say, yes, I trust you. So then he said, okay, if you trust me, go heal Rishi. I was not left with the solution. I said, okay, Baba, I will do what I can do. So after that, I spoke to his parents and said, would you mind if I can come and pray for Rishi and heal him? They were very happy. They said, yes, yes, please. So then, a few days later, and one morning, I reached there to heal Rishi. I had no idea what I was going to do. I entered the room. She was in a bad shape. By now, he knew me. He called me Pooja Devi. Pooja is my name at home. Everybody calls me Pooja. He didn't call me. He knew me as Pooja Devi, sorry. So when I went to meet him, I said to him again, I said, Rishi, you remember me? I had come to you on the day of the bhajan and Pooja Devi. And he just looked. I said, Rishi, I'm Pooja Devi. And then he kept looking at me. His eyes were trying to say something, but he was not speaking. I said, Rishi, I have come to heal you. Baba wants me to pray and help you to get better. You want to get better? Again, the eyes looked at me and the eyes said yes. There was a little thing. Will you help me heal you? The eyes again smiled. That is when I realized that, oh my God, Rishi cannot speak because of the accident. There was a big hole in his throat. His vocal cords were visible. You could see the vocal cords from there. And I thought, my God, what should I heal in him, Baba? Then I thought, why not start with the throat? If Rishi speaks, I'll at least know what his problem is, where there is pain, where there is problem. So I think it was obviously by his grace, I instantly put my hand on his throat and I started praying. That's all I knew. That's all I know today also. I just know to love him and play with faith. So I prayed and I said, Baba, please make him speak. I kept praying, and then I said, Rishi, will you help Devi? And his eyes smiled again. Say, Baba. And then Rishi would go, no sound. There would just be the lip movement. But then I thought, I'm expecting it too early, first time, no? Then again a day later, I went on alternate days, I went again to him. Again I said, Rishi, try, speak. I kept praying. Rishi again struggled. I thought I heard a sound. I called his parents. And I said, see, he's speaking. Just stood there. And I said, Rishi, speak now. Again he said. He kept trying. I looked at his parents. Did you hear? They said, no. I felt very bad, that I could still hear something, they're not hearing anything. I felt a little embarrassed, awkward. Then I thought I will not call them only now. I said, okay, thank you. Third time I went to Rishi, that day when I prayed, I just felt lots of light and energy around me. I felt as if there was a shower of energy. And I was angry with Baba. I was saying to Baba, you're not helping me. You said trust me, because of you I am here. And now I'm sitting here and trying to do something, you're not even helping me. Instantly I felt Baba's hand inside my hand. The hand I had kept, I could feel his hand on my hand. I just kept quiet, prayed, and then I again said, Rishi, see Baba, that day I heard a whisper. The whisper was, that much, not more. I didn't call his parents. I didn't want them to come in again and say we can't hear anything, but I heard a whisper. But when he was trying to say it, he was struggling, He was moving his head left, right, putting all his energy to say that one whisper. It was not coming, struggling. I felt so bad for him, I felt so bad that, my God, look at him trying so much, still he cannot hear him. So I went back home that day and all my anger, all my anguish, my pain, I just went straight to the mandir, sat in front of Baba, picked up my mala and I started doing the chanting of Baba's Gayatri Mantra. Very upset, very angry, in loud voice I kept chanting Baba's Gayatri Mantra, one after another, one after another. I did the whole mala, screaming aloud, in pain, when you're angry, in pain, I was just on fire, praying Baba, all the energy that I'm generating may reach Rishi, but he has to sleep. Prayed, cried, kept doing the chanting. After the chant was over, I went to sleep. In my sleep, I heard a voice. I don't know, semi-conscious dream, I do not know. But I heard a voice. It was just a voice that said, Rishi will speak. I was very surprised, that somebody has said this to me. In the morning, I woke up with more confidence. I called up Rishi's mother and I said, Auntie, last night Baba has said to me, Rishi will speak. So don't worry, Rishi will speak. She said, okay, thank you, and she disconnected the phone. Now what happened was that Auntie and Uncle, Rishi's parents, had hidden a fact from me. They had not told me that during the surgery, Rishi's voice box had got damaged. Voice box is that part of the brain which gives us voice. I don't know medical terminology better, I'm just telling you what they had shared with me. So the voice box was crushed and damaged during the operation, during the accident. So during the surgery, it was removed from the body, it was removed from the brain. So it was impossible for Rishi to ever speak in his life. On his paper, doctors had written and given that Rishi will never be able to speak for the rest of his life. In addition to that, the vocal cords were completely cut and damaged. There was no way he could speak. But they thought, I'm praying, let us not tell her. Maybe there's going to be a miracle. And thank God for that, because the moment you hear the negative, you become negative. So I was very positive because I didn't know the negative. But Auntie put the phone down and told Uncle, she's saying Baba has said to her last night she will speak. But she can't speak. We know he cannot speak. Anyways, few hours went and Auntie called me back again. When I picked up the phone, she was crying loudly, howling into the phone, sobbing. So what happened to Auntie? And she went on crying. I thought something had happened to Rishi. My heart sank. I said, Auntie, what has happened to Rishi? Auntie, speak to me. What has happened to Rishi? And she could not speak. So she said, here, speak. She gave the phone to somebody else. She was choking. When the phone went to somebody else, on the other hand, I heard somebody say, Pooja Didi, and that was Rishi. So Rishi spoke that day. Rishi speaks even now. Now he's fine. He's little paralyzed. His leg is not perfect. Right hand is not perfect. But when I told you initially that I got my book typed, trust me, half the book was typed by Rishi alone using his left hand. He typed the book for me. That was his miracles and his leaders. So the reason I have shared this with you is not just to talk about miracles. I want you to understand that Baba's presence is always there in our lives. It is just about the faith. That day, if I didn't have the faith, if I knew that Rishi cannot speak, maybe I couldn't have done this. But there was complete faith. There was no doubt. And when there is complete faith, the power of the mind, the power of the soul, everything works in unison to give us what we want. The problem is only that we doubt ourselves. The problem is that we don't have faith. Every time we say, I want this Baba, I know I can get it. The next thing is, but will it happen? The moment that but comes, the moment that it comes, we are doubting our own prayer, we are doubting our own faith. Either you show me a way so that I can help the whole world, or you take away what you have given me, I do not want this. And that is when Baba showed me direction and asked me to do Reiki. I used to think Reiki is a Japanese way of healing, a Japanese method of healing. Why is Baba asking me to do it? I'm blessed with his energies. Why should I learn something which is not even from my own culture? I was very averse. But then Baba said something, I just go and do it blindly. So I did my Reiki. Initially I was a little lost why I'm doing it. But very soon I realized that when I learned Reiki, it was not a different energy flowing through me. It was Baba flowing through me beautifully. I would close my eyes and feel him coming all inside me, and through me, I'm just a channel. He would go into people and help them. It was magical. And because of Reiki, I could actually teach people Reiki. Reiki is not taught. There is a process of initiation. In the initiation, there is a Shakti path. Baba transfers energies, and again, just the channel. It's his energies that go inside you. And then when I started initiating people into healing, I realized, people realized that they were all feeling Baba. We all felt Baba inside us. Baba became the palpitation of our hands, the warmth of our hands. And when we prayed, we could feel his presence there. The beauty is, people that we meet also saw Baba standing there. We feel him, they feel him. And it is not just hands-on. I am sitting in India, the patients are sitting in US. I am seeing Baba blessed here, the patients are seeing Baba standing blessed there. Similar cases happening everywhere. That is when I realized, oh my God, it is just Baba. Reiki is Baba for me. It's not anything different from Baba, it is him completely. And then the journey continued, and in the last 1 year, across the globe, I, with Baba's grace, with his blessings, initiated 350 people into healing. So now we have an army of 350 people who work and help people, and this is just the beginning. 350 is a large number, yet a small number for our world. I pray that one day every house has a healer. When your child has a cough and cold, you don't run to your doctor. You just pray and the child gets better. We've got cases of epilepsy, cases of cancer, cases of muscular dystrophy, all getting help and healed slowly, steadily with Baba's blessing. Any type of problem that has come, there is not one person who has not got help. And the most beautiful thing about Reiki initiation or attunement is that he gets help. The healers are all sitting here in between you. You can meet them after the session. I think their lives have changed. My life has changed because in the initiation, Baba's energies flow through us. We go into a different vibration, a different frequency completely. Right now, you are accepting those energies which are just present in the cosmos around you. Then you accept divine energies. You are on a very different frequency. Your chakras open up to beautiful energies. You smile for no reason. You just stay happy. Your fears disappear. Your health issues disappear. Life becomes so much more beautiful. So we are on this journey to help people and heal people as much as we can. And you'll be very happy to know that out of 350, I have traveled some 7-8 cities and a couple of countries across the world, but 100 healers are from Bangalore. So Bangalore has become my second home now. We are also trying to set up a home for little girl child here. We are looking for a place. And if Baba's grace that happens, you are all welcome to come and do seva. The kids are going to need mentors and people to guide them and bless them. And on that note, I want to share my next most important lesson with you, which is about what does Baba want from us? Why are we living in this world? Why do we come to this world? We are not coming to this world to just live useless lives and die. And when I say useless, I'm sorry for this word useless, but all I'm trying to say is we get up in the morning, live a life, a routine life, go to work, look after the family, come back home, sleep. That routine goes on for years and years and years before you realize you're old and before you realize you are gone. That is not why we have come to this earth. We have come with a purpose. We have come for a meaning. If Baba has sent us to this world, I'm sure he wanted something more from us. This morning at NR Colony Temple I was sharing, Baba shared a beautiful thought with me. He said to me that You offer the most beautiful flower in my feet. When you go to the flower vendor, you look for the prettiest flower, the fresh flower, the one which has bloomed the most, and then you offer. He said, will you go outside, pick up a flower which is totally stale, black, which has come under the feet of many people, crushed under their feet. Will you pick up that flower and offer to your Baba? Yes or no? No. So Baba says to me, when you die, death is just shed the body, the soul lives on. So when we merge into Baba, when we move on the onward journey, when we go there and Baba is waiting for us, we will only be worth offering in His feet if we have come like that beautiful flower, not like that stale flower which has come under people's feet. And to be that beautiful flower, we need to be pure, we need to be good, we need to be totally worth being offering to our God. He will be there in that world, yet we will not be able to reach Him. Why? Because we have got no store of good deeds with us. When we die and finally meet our Baba, we see Him every day, but when we actually see Him there as energy, as light, He's standing in front of you, you can communicate with Him directly, and He says to you, my child, you have lived 70 years in this world, you have lived 80 years in this world, 90 years, what have you brought from me from there? What will you say? Baba, I have brought a big bangles for you. Will you say that? Can you take that with you? Baba, I have brought lots of bungalows that I made for you. Baba, I have made lots of gold jewelry I wanted for you. Can you take any of that to Baba? Can you take it with you? What can you take? You can only take your good deeds and good karma with you. You can only go and say, Baba, I helped lots of people. Baba, I shed lots of smiles. I have brought those smiles for you. I have brought that happiness for you. I have brought those little moments of joy for you. That I offer unto your feet. And if you can do that, then you will make yourself worthy of being offered in His feet. Otherwise, after being there in His company also, you will be taken away separately and said, no. You still need to evolve and grow to be able to merge in your Baba. He will be there, yet you will be away from Him. So painful, my God, to have Him and not yet have Him. Make your life worthwhile. There is only one thing that I go to every place and say, we are born to do something good and make our life more meaningful and the lives of people around us more meaningful. Do whatever good you can. Baba is not interested in what you are offering to Him. Trust me, He is more interested in what you can do for others. We go to the Shivling and pour milk and milk on the Shivling which goes down the drain. If that same milk had gone into somebody who's starving for the last 5 days into his stomach, you think Baba and Shivji will be happier to see the milk flow down or happier that somebody's tummy is full? Think about it. It's very logical. You tell me. Tell me. He will be happier if you feed somebody. People tell me, so many youngsters come and say, ma'am, if I pass my exam, in the cold weather I will go bare feet without a shawl sweater and thank Baba and come. Now I say, in that cold weather, when there is a person who's on the road who has no clothes on him, if you give that shawl to him and give your chappals to him, will Baba be happier, or is he happy to see his own child walk in the cold to him? Think about it. It's very practical. We don't think about it. People starve themselves and fast for Baba. Baba always said, it is a sacharita. I don't like it when you fast. He has said in very clear words, because when you are fasting, you are thinking more about food, less about me, because there is no energy in the body. You'd rather eat moderately and worship me. So what Baba has taught us are very practical things in life. We focus on what we have learned, our religious belief system. Every morning go to the mandir, offer flowers, ring the bell, say the mantras, walk out, worship done. And Baba is still sitting and thinking, at least look at me and say good morning. At least give me a good morning smile. We have done the prayer, done everything and gone. We have not connected with Him. Stop seeing an idol in your house. Stop seeing idols in mandirs. Stop seeing pictures in mandirs. Start seeing Baba sitting there. Life will be so much more beautiful. When you go to the mandir and look there and say, Baba, good morning, how are you? I've just come to say good morning and I love you to you. He will be far happier than you go in that long queue, put your flowers, walk out. Work done. Thursday I I always go to the mandir on Thursday, Didi. People come and tell me. I really am tempted to ask, do you look at him when you go to the mandir? Do you connect with him? We all look. Mind is somewhere, eyes are somewhere. What is the point? What is the point? All this religious belief system that we have built up has only complicated life. Some religion says, I was speaking to some children in a school yesterday and asking them questions, little ones. And I was asking, explain to me which is right. Christianity says, wear shoes and come into the church. Mandir says, take off shoes and walk into the mandir. Christianity says, offer wine to God, he will be happy. If I give wine to Panditji, he will take the bottle on my head. So what are you doing? How did you bring it inside the temple? Every religion has a different belief system. We have complicated it. The Muslims will say, don't blow a conch in the mandir, it is evil. Panditji, if he doesn't blow the conch, we will not start our worship. So what is right, what is wrong? In looking for that complication, we spend our lives. How to please God? We keep thinking, what can I do which will make God happy? We start barter system with God. You give me a result, I will give you laddu. You give me this, I will give you that. As if he is waiting to eat those laddus as if he doesn't have them. Come on, think about it. We are making it so much more difficult for him and for us. All he wants from us is love. In my journey, I am so connected to Baba. Thanks to Baba, I have done nothing. People look up to me, love me, say, Didi, you are so connected. How do you pray? What do you do? I smile and say, I only love you. That is all I know to do. Trust me. I don't sit for hours. I'm not saying I don't meditate. I love meditating. I don't meditate because I have to meditate. See the difference. You meditate, a lot of you will come to me and say, I have to sit half an hour and meditate. There is no have to. It should be want to. I want to meditate on Baba. I want to be in His presence, so I do it. Don't do it because there is a compulsion to do it. And just loving Him and loving His children is the path to happiness. Love Him and do good. Do what Baba did. When he was alive, he did not go to the Himalayas and sit in the snow and meditate and earn himself blessings. He sat between us, loved us, he healed somebody, blessed somebody, cured somebody. He was only there for us. And we, his children, worship him. We say we are Baba devotees, but we don't do one thing that Baba did. How many of you have sacrificed one complete meal for somebody you found on the road who was hungry? How many of you have taken off your shawl when you found somebody freezing on the road and given it away? See? Not one hand is going up. I can put my hand up now. That is what the need is. I am not trying to boast. I am not even trying to say that I am doing something you're not doing. I am just trying to say what I have learned from him, I am doing it in my life. And if you can do it, when you walk on the street and see somebody in need, stop. Help that person. We just walk blindly. We don't see pain around us nowadays. We have become so blinded by our own work, responsibilities, duties. Everybody I talk to says to me, I want to do good. What to do, Didi? No time. Come on. You have time to WhatsApp people and message people, share pictures. Yeah, but we don't have time to help somebody. This is all rubbish. This is all absolutely wrong. It has to be from the heart. If you want to do good, there will be 1,000 ways you find to do good. Baba loves little things. I don't know if you've read my story about roses. If you've read the book, I'm a little mad about roses and Baba. Every time I go to Baba, I must get a red rose. Otherwise, I think he hasn't said I love you that day. So then I start getting very upset because I said I love you with a red rose. You know, red roses, Valentine's Day, all the youngsters will know. Yeah, see the smile. So when you can give a red rose to your girlfriend, you can always give a red rose to him. People go with big gifts to Baba. I gave Baba this, I gave Baba that. He is not at all interested, he says. He says anything offered with a pure heart and with love is all that I need. It could be just a petal. You could just break a leaf from outside and say, Baba, that's all I have for you today, and give it. He will be so happy to accept it. But then you start thinking, what can I do for Baba? Big planning we have to make. He is not interested. He just wants love. Every time you eat food, you all offer food to Baba? Very few. How do we offer food to Baba? Keep it in the mandir? Stand there with it? Do you see him munching on it? That is what you need to do. You have to feel him there. That is what I am saying. Don't go stand with your bowl of halwa or what do you call that here? Kesari. And all the dishes that you cook for Baba. We go to the murti, close eyes, stand, eat. I'm waiting. Close your eyes, see Baba sitting. See him eating bite by bite and relishing it. That is eating food. See him. He is alive. He is breathing. Every day we have proofs. Thousands of proofs. You sitting here, all of you. Is there any one person who will say, I have not experienced a miracle or blessing of Baba in my life? One person who raises a hand and says, I have not experienced. See, everybody has experienced him. Sometimes from his murti, vibhuti starts coming out. Sometimes when there is problem, he comes with a beautiful thought and brings us out of the problem. Sometimes he even changes our red lights to green lights when we are getting busy, late for a meeting. He helps in the tiniest way. Somebody is dying, he comes as the remedy. He is there for everyone. He is the mother, he is the father, he is the guru, he is the God, he is everything, all in all. And he is not sitting in the temple. He is not sitting in the gurudwaras and the masjids. He is sitting inside each of us. He is very much inside each of us. You just have to see. Once I wrote a poem for Baba. The words of the poem I don't remember. I'll share the essence of it. I said, Baba, I went to temples looking for you. I could not find you. I went to gurudwaras, could not find you. Went to the church, I thought you will be there, could not find you. Then I went to different places of worship, different places where people said, oh, Baba is present there. I went there also, I could not find you. Got very tired. And I came back and dejected, I sat down. That my God, my search is ended, I couldn't find Baba. When I sat down, I just put my head down in pain. When I looked down, he was just here. And I realized I was just searching in vain from here, in vain here and there. He was right here. That is all you need to know. That Baba is inside each of us, not just you, all of us. If you realize that, you will stop hating people. This thing of anger, why is he like this, ego, jealousy. How can it be there when you see Baba in everybody? And I know it sounds very difficult. How can I see Baba in everybody? It is not so difficult. You just have to learn to love. You just have to realize that the meaning of life is just spreading smiles, love and joy. That is why we are here. In your circumference, don't worry about those outside. If you can only spread happiness to those around you, the work is done. Don't worry about others. Do that much. If you do that much, more will automatically happen. Somebody came and met me yesterday and said to me, Siti, I have a question. I said, tell me. He said, for years in my life I have been aching, craving to do lots of work, good work. I want to feed thousands and thousands of people in this world. And I don't have the capability for it right now. I can't do so much, but I want to feed thousands. Will Baba help me? I said, when did you last feed one person? Maybe I have not started, no? I'm waiting to be able to do it. That is the problem. You're just waiting to be able to do it. There is no need to wait. We are all capable of helping somebody in one way or the other. We just don't put the effort. And I'm again telling you, when I die and I leave this body and I open my eyes to the next world, I know for sure he will be waiting with open arms and say, I was waiting for you to come, and I will hug him and hold him and merge into him. If you go there and he's there and he says, my child, I was waiting for you, but there is time still you reach me. Go. The lessons are not over. And then you again start a journey of learning. Horrible idea. Trust me, it's a very bad thought. So you might as well accumulate something nice to give to Baba when you go there. Don't go empty-handed. You should never go to a guru empty-handed, he said. So you must take with you something, and all you can take with you is all the good you can do in this world. So I think, no, I'm not. You want to hear more? I think we have to wind up early because then lots of people would like to take signatures on the book. That takes very long. Okay, one short story, because you're all looking at me so eagerly, I feel bad cutting it short like this. What should I share with you? Okay, I'll share something which is not in my book. So those of you who have read also, I'll share something which is not there. Very short story. A small example of his love. I once went to Shirdi and I went for Baba's darshan. Very crowded in the mandir, very, very crowded. Shirdi is always crowded. I think those days have gone when you walk in alone. It's always push and pull and everything. I went there and I had just reached that day, craving to see Baba, dying to be with him. And it was so crowded, I didn't realize, and I was pushed out. You don't even bow before Baba, no pranams also properly done. You're still trying to bend and the security lady just says, what do they say? There is a word they say, I just pushed you out in Marathi. I don't remember now. Chala. Something is there, no? So before you realize you're out. And I was out and my God, I was howling. What happened with me? Baba, I went to you with such a heart to meet you. This is the welcome. At that time you don't cry because you were not in the mandir for long enough. I started thinking you are angry with me. I'm sure I have done something wrong. How can I get thrown out like this, Baba? All the way you come to meet Baba and before you see Baba also, get out. I was very heavy-hearted, crying and I was with a group of friends. They were walking, I was following them because I was crying, so I was alone. Suddenly I saw one lady sitting down there, very bulky. I think she was from one of the 4 states in the south of India. I did not know the language she spoke at all. She was crying aloud. I thought she was in pain. So I ran to the friends and said, wait, somebody needs us. They just turned, looked, they walked away. They were too busy chatting. They didn't even register what I said. Now I thought if I stop, I'll lose them. That thing in my head, for a moment, what should I do? Then I said, no, nothing doing. I'll find them. I know where to go. At least I know the hotel. I stopped and I walked up to her and I said, Amma, what happened? And she kept howling and saying some wrong thing to me. I did not know one word of it. Then again I asked her, then again she cried. I was still thinking, what should I do? Then a young boy walked up. I think he was her son. Then I looked at him, he came and he told her, Amma, something that don't cry. I could make out he was saying don't cry. Then I looked at him, what happened? Does she need medical help? Can I take her somewhere with you? He said, Baba darshan, but she can't get up. I felt very bad, I said, can you lift her and take her? It was more sign language than language we were talking. One word I understood that he spoke, one word I spoke, he understood. So she's really crying. He looked at me and looked away. Didn't even register again. I kept standing. Bhaiya, please see her, Bhaiya. Desperate to take help. First he looked irritated, then he looked at the lady, then he looked at me. Then he just bring her. I was so shocked, I ran to the son. I said, they're going to let you take her in. I'll request them to help you. You just lift her up somehow. So he would lift, she would not come up. I was standing and watching, Then I just instantly went to help. I lifted her up, brought her to the gate. The guard opened the gate and said, take. So I just took her till there, waiting that somebody will come and help. And nobody came to help. Nobody helps nowadays easily in life, And before I realized, I was walking back into the mandir. They were opening up one rope after another. And from the center, I walked inside to Baba back with her. And that is when I realized, oh my God, I have come back to Baba. I was just crying that I can get time with you. Here I am back again in the next 5 minutes. And because that lady was in pain, she was made to sit there. Nobody asked her to get up. And because they needed help, I stood there too waiting for her. I think I spent 20 minutes with Baba, maybe 25 minutes. Happily. That also with our own wish, we got up and left. And at that moment, what I was thinking? I was thinking, this is love. Baba's love for us and how he observed our love for people. All my friends walked away. I stayed back. He blessed me because he said, you went and reached out to someone, I will reach out to you. If you look to me, I look to you. So next time you see someone in pain, stop and reach out. You don't know in how many ways Baba will reach out to you. I have just narrated a very small incident to you. But trust me, I have observed, every time you do one small thing, He gives you a million blessings in return. Million blessings. But remember, it should be done with a heart. Don't do it to show off. Don't do it to prove to Baba you're doing good work. Do it because you want to do good work. Good should always be done with the right bhav. If it is done with haughtiness, ego and pride, it is useless, totally nullified. You could do a million good acts with ego, it will be a big zero. You could do a small little thing, a very small little thing with a pure heart, it becomes totally magnified, it becomes millionfold. There was one child who needed a stem cell donor. They were desperately looking for donors, so I told people from my team to spread the word. Let's spread the word, let's spread the word. Everybody started spreading the word. 10 people, we need a donor. But only one person said, test me. Maybe my stem cell will match. That is the distance. That is the small little distance. How many will actually do it? Everybody will think, there is help needed. Who will step up to give that help? That is what will make a difference. So just become little Babas in the world. He is inside you, He is the goodness inside you. Just let the goodness live. Just shun away all the negativity and the bad. Teach your children how to live good life, think good thoughts. Don't grow them up into mechanized robots. That grow up, you have to become an engineer, doctor. Make them human beings first. If they are good human beings, they will anywhere do well in life. Problem is we make them into these mechanical robots. Do what I've asked you to do. Study, sleep, eat, drink, top in college, top in university, and now go earn money. Finish. This is what the parents are giving to the children. This is what you want for your child. So that when the child wants to go, he has 20 bungalows, 5 stars, but nothing to offer to Baba. Don't do that. Make your children human beings first. Teach them humanity, teach them goodness, teach them to love, care, share. Be good, do good. Then you have succeeded as parents. Not by just making them into those that every parent is doing. Let's not do that. Let's make a difference in the world. And if each of you sitting here decide to make a little difference, imagine what a big difference there will be tomorrow. There will be more people who will have food, more people who will have help. Don't listen to me and forget me, please. If you forget me, it will be equal to forgetting him. I mean it. Remember these words, because every time I sit here and talk, I promise you, Baba is witness, I swear upon Baba. Baba speaks, I don't speak. Every word that you're hearing right now is coming directly from him. It is his message to you. I am only the channel. So if you're not listening to your Baba when he speaks, what is the point being here? Listen to him, follow what he teaches, and like I said, let us be little lamps in this world, lighting up the world and making it a more beautiful and happy place. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Om Shanti.